Hello, hello, rockers. Here we are again. This new playlist has to do with a curious incident, yes, of the dog in the night time. Well, as you know, I've got the ticket. I've seen the play a couple of times in English, in Spanish. Look, this was last week that I went back to theater here, Maipo Theater in Buenos Aires, with a superb performance of these people. Thank you, stage company, dear stage company. We love you because this has been great once again. Okay, this is 2026. They have already put it on stage in 2019 and it was a success. They won a lot of awards. This is in Spanish, as I mentioned before, but I've seen it also in English in on Broadway Avenue thanks to a colleague of mine who recommended it to me. And the funny part is that I had the book at home and I was like, kind of, I cannot read it. I cannot read it. It was quite a mathematics and a lot of things in between. And so I said, okay, after watching the play, I could go back to the story and I loved it. Yes, it's very interesting, very good. And not to mention how they have put it on stage. Amazing. Um, what I've done here, this has to do with the hero's journey. Okay, once again, we are trying to combine this theory, this set of narration, okay? And look at this, we've got this, okay? Mark Haddon's The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time, Christopher's Quest, La Búsqueda, ¿no? A hero's journey through a neurodivergent lens. Okay, so we listen to a podcast. It's not me. All right, so you will enjoy. So give it a second. Christopher's Quest, a hero's journey through a neurodivergent lens. Rock Your English at English Intro. Welcome to the journey, host. Welcome back to Rock Your English. Today we're going on a very different kind of hero's journey. No dragons, no maggots, no magic swords, no supernatural powers. Instead, we have numbers, logic, trains, sensory overload, metaphors, and a mystery involving a dog named Wellington. Our hero is Christopher Boone, the protagonist of Mark Haddon's The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. And today, we're looking at Christopher's story through a neurodivergent lens. Because Christopher doesn't experience the world in the same way as the people around him. And that difference isn't simply an obstacle, it becomes part of his strength. So, what happens when a boy who loves order, mathematics, and certainty is suddenly forced into a world full of secrets, lies, noise, emotions, and unpredictability? Let's find out. Segment 1. The Call. Finding Wellington Host. Every hero's journey begins with a call to adventure. For Christopher, that call comes in a shocking way. He discovers his neighbor's dog, Wellington, dead in the garden, and Christopher decides to investigate. Why? Because Christopher loves solving problems. He thinks logically, he notices details that other people ignore, and he wants the truth. So he begins asking questions. But here's the problem. The truth is not always comfortable. Christopher's investigation begins as a mystery about a dead dog, but it slowly becomes a much bigger investigation into his own family, and that changes everything. Nash Segment 2, The Supernatural Aid, Logic and Prime Numbers. Host, most heroes have a magical object or a supernatural power. Christopher has something different, mathematics. Prime numbers give him a sense of order. They make sense. They're predictable. They're logical, unlike human beings. Christopher struggles with the ambiguity of social communication. People can say one thing and mean another. They can lie, they can use sarcasm, they can hide their feelings. For Christopher, this can make the social world extremely confusing. But mathematics? Mathematics doesn't play games. 2 plus 2 is 4. There is certainty. There is structure. And that structure helps Christopher navigate a world that often feels chaotic. Segment 3. Crossing the Threshold. The London Train Host. And then Christopher faces one of the biggest challenges of his journey. He leaves his safe environment, he travels to London. For many people, taking a train might seem completely ordinary. For Christopher, it is overwhelming.
There are crowds, announcements, lights, sounds, movement, people touching him, information everywhere. His senses are bombarded. This is what we might call sensory overload. And Christopher develops strategies to cope. He uses what the novel describes as mechanisms that help him manage the overwhelming environment. For example, tube vision, and sometimes white noise. These aren't weaknesses. They're strategies, ways of making an overwhelming world more. Segment 4, The Abyss, The Secret of the Letters. Host. Every hero eventually reaches the abyss, the moment when everything they believe begins to collapse. For Christopher, that moment comes when he discovers the letters from his mother. And suddenly, his understanding of his father changes. The person he trusted has lied to him. Christopher's world is shattered. Because trust is extremely important to him, he depends on clear rules, clear information, clear relationships. But now, nothing is clear anymore. The mystery of Wellington becomes something much bigger. It's a mystery about truth, trust, family, and identity. Segment 5, The Ordeal, Sensory Overload. Host. Now Christopher has to face another enemy, not a monster, not a villain, but overstimulation. The London Underground becomes almost unbearable. Imagine being surrounded by trains, announcements, crowds, lights, movement, physical contact, unfamiliar voices, all at the same time. For Christopher, this isn't simply annoying. It can become genuinely overwhelming. And this is an important part of understanding his journey. Instead of asking, why doesn't Christopher behave like everyone else? We can ask, what is Christopher experiencing right now? That small change in perspective completely transforms the story. Segment 6, The Hero's Obstacles. Host. Christopher faces several obstacles throughout his journey. Let's look at 3 important ones. Physical touch. Christopher dislikes unexpected physical contact. Touch can become overwhelming. So when people touch him without warning, his reaction can be intense. The color yellow. Christopher has strong preferences about colors in food. Something as ordinary as a yellow food can become associated with anxiety or discomfort. What seems insignificant to another person can have enormous meaning for Christopher. Metaphors. And then we have language. Christopher prefers literal meaning. So expressions like, he's got a heart of stone, or it's raining cats and dogs, can be confusing. Christopher asks us to think about language itself. Because, do we always mean exactly what we say? And what happens when we don't? But here's where Christopher's journey becomes truly powerful. Christopher doesn't suddenly become someone else. He doesn't overcome his neurodivergence. Instead, he discovers what he is capable of. He investigates a mystery. He travels alone. He navigates London. He faces fear. He discovers painful truths. And he keeps going. That's transformation. Not becoming a different person, but discovering your own abilities. Segment 8, The Return, Mastering Both Worlds. Eventually, Christopher returns. But he isn't the same person who began the journey. He has proved something important to himself. He can do difficult things. He can travel. He can investigate. He can solve problems. He can survive situations that once seemed impossible. And his achievement in mathematics becomes another symbol of his potential. His A-level mathematics result represents much more than a grade. It represents independence, determination, intelligence, and confidence. Christopher's journey reminds us that success doesn't have to look the same for everyone. Segment 9, The Neurodivergent Lens Host. So what does a neurodivergent reading of Christopher's journey teach us? Perhaps the most important lesson is this: difference is not the same as deficiency. Christopher experiences the world differently. He processes information differently. He communicates differently. He responds to sensory information differently. But he also possesses remarkable strengths: his attention to detail, his logical thinking, his mathematical ability, his determination, his honesty, his ability to notice patterns, his courage. The world isn't always designed for Christopher, but Christopher learns how to navigate that world without losing himself. Final segment, What Makes a Hero? So, what makes Christopher a hero? Is it because he solves the mystery? Yes. Is it because he travels to London alone? Absolutely. Is it because he achieves his mathematics goal? Definitely. But perhaps the real reason is much simpler. Christopher experiences a world that can be confusing, unpredictable, noisy, and frightening. And yet, he keeps moving forward. That is the hero's journey. Not the absence of fear, not the absence of obstacles, but the decision to continue despite them. Christopher's story challenges us to look beyond behavior and try to understand experience, to replace judgment with curiosity, and perhaps most importantly, to recognize that there are many different ways of being intelligent, brave, and successful. And that's Christopher's Quest, a mystery that begins with a dead dog and becomes a journey of truth, independence, identity, and self discovery. So the next time you meet someone who sees the world differently, don't immediately ask, what's wrong with them? Ask, what does the world look like from their perspective? Because sometimes changing the lens changes the whole story. This has been Rock Your English. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, every great journey begins with a single step. Rock Your English at English Zone Rocks.
Well, there we are. Okay. How was it? Oh, I love this perspective. I love understanding the story through this set of ideas. And I'm fascinated with it. Okay. I would love to go back and see it again. I need to be there. I would love to even to perform. I wanted to be on stage because I knew part of the dialogue. It's such a nice. I need another ticket to go. So well, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learn and practice and activate your English. That's the important thing here to understand all this. And well, here we are. Okay. The playlist will continue. Yes, we have to work on the plot structure, the characters, yes, the settings, obviously, the literary devices, and but well, this has been great. I'm very proud of it. Okay, so this has just been something interesting to share. Okay, so you can leave us a comment if you've seen the movie, if you sorry, not the movie, if you've seen the play, La Obra de Teatro, or if you read the book. We invite you to leave us a comment. Okay, well, thank you for being there, and remember, stay hungry, stay curious, stay tuned, okay, and rock your English. And I love this phrase, every great journey begins with a single step. Okay, keep on rocking it. Bye.